looking for confirmation that you don't belong, because you will always find it. Stop walking through the world looking for evidence that you're not enough, because you will always find it. Your self-worth and your belonging is not something that we negotiate externally. It's something we carry in our wild hearts. And if we spend our lives looking everywhere we go for evidence that I don't really belong in this meeting, I'm not really an artist, I just do this on the side and this is my side hustle, but it's not really my job, or we keep comparing ourselves, you will find exactly what you're looking for. It's been a year trying to understand where we are as a country, and really globally this is happening across the world. And what I learned was pretty shocking to me, that at the very same time that we've sorted ourselves into these ideological bunkers, that we really actually, demographically, we don't go to school and worship and live by people who are different than us as much as we used to. Behind those ideological bunkers, it's not that we're deeply connected to each other, we just hate the same people. And hating the same people doesn't really mean jack when it comes down to belonging, because just because you hate the same people doesn't mean that you're gonna show up for me when I'm throwing up at chemo, or you're gonna go pick up my kids from school when I'm running late or have a flat tire. It's like, it's not real connection. It's not super meaningful, deep connection. We're more sorted, but we're lonely. And loneliness is serious stuff, is a greater predictor of an early death than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day or obesity. Wow. Loneliness kills people. Is that belonging is being a part of something bigger than yourself, but it's also the courage to stand alone and to belong to yourself above all else. And so I think I spend a lot of time belonging to myself, and sometimes that makes other people uncomfortable. It's hard. It's still hard. But here's the thing that has changed everything for me. I belong to me. So even when I feel alone and I wonder who's my crew and who are my people, I belong to me for sure, for the first time in my life maybe. Learn in the research that the opposite of belonging is fitting in. Because fitting in is assessing a group of people and thinking, who do I need to be? What do I need to say? What do I need to wear? How do I need to act? And changing who you are. And true belonging never asks us to change who we are. It demands that we be who we are. Because if we fit in because how we've changed ourselves, that's not belonging. That's not belonging, because you betrayed yourself for other people. And that's not sustainable.
Yeah, you start to lose yourself.
You start to lose yourself, exactly what you said. And so I think it's hard. You have to show up as who you are. It starts with this quote from Maya Angelou that we're never free until we belong nowhere. We belong everywhere, which is nowhere, which is no place at all, which I thought was a terrible quote for many years. And I was like, why are you saying that, Dr. Angelou? You're pissing me off.
Yeah.
But then I realized, really, and she says, the cost is high, but the reward is great. And I think that's the thing, that I feel like I belong everywhere I go, no matter where it is or who I'm with, as long as I never betray myself. And the minute I become who you want me to be in order to fit in and make sure people like me, is the moment I no longer belong anywhere. I can make you feel comfortable.
Of course.
But then if I get so adaptable that my goal, my intention of adapting is to make sure you like me, then that's when I betray myself.
Yeah.
And we are more disconnected than we've ever been, and it's polarized, but art can save us. It has the power to render sorrow beautiful and make loneliness a shared experience and transform despair into hope. Take the holler of a returning soldier and turn it into a shared expression and a deep collective experience. Music, like all art, gives pain in our most wrenching emotions, voice, language, and form, so it can be recognized and shared. The magic of all art is the ability to both capture our pain and deliver us from it at the same time. And I learned about belonging that I think is so powerful and that I cling to as a creative is that belonging is not something we negotiate with the external world. It's something we carry in our hearts. And as it turns out that the men and women who have the highest levels of true belonging not only find sacred being a part of something bigger, but they have the courage to stand alone. And the reason why art and creativity are going to be so important to our healing and to whatever comes next in our world is every creative knows what it's like to stand alone. And so creatives have this incredible ability when they find the confidence to be able to find beauty and value in being part of a creative community, but also the courage to stand alone. Part of a creative group and community. But don't ever believe for a second that you are not going to have to stand on your own. You will have to be alone at some point. It is what we're called to do. And to get to a place where you can find, that's what Maya Angelou meant, I think, when she said, you belong everywhere, nowhere, which is everywhere. Because you belong, if you carry belonging in your heart, it's not negotiated externally with other people. And I think the thing that's really powerful is, as a social species, the reason why we feel lonely is because we are neurobiologically wired to be with each other. And as a social species, we need art, and we need music, and we need photography, and we need to see the artifacts that allow us to find our humanity in each other.
Wow.
And that's art.
Yeah.
That's music. Oliver Sacks says, music pierces the heart directly. It needs no mediation. Like, that is one of our ways out here. What we're in right now as it's a crisis, a spiritual crisis. And when I say spiritual crisis, people get really squirmy and they're like, oh God, is she talking religion? Which I'm not. So I'm not sure that didn't bring us here in some way, dogma, religion. But spirituality is really simple definition to me from the data. It's the belief that we're inextricably tied to each other, that you and I are connected in a fundamental way that can never be disconnected. We're all connected to each other inextricably. And while that is not breakable, it is forgettable. You cannot break human connection, but you can forget about it. And to share moments, not only what's possible between humans and even strangers, but I think more profoundly what's true about what's between us. That's the truth of how we're built to be together. I think it's a sucky connection tool. So if we're using it to communicate with each other, if we're using it to talk to each other, then I think it's helpful and it can be great. If we're using it only as our only form of connection to each other, it falls really short. Our identity on any social media. That's bullshit. You're participating and contributing to nothing at all, because you're saying things to other human beings that you would probably never say.
Yeah, and you're certainly not close to them.